Our Across the Aisle segment tonight, O.J. Simpson will be released from prison on parole, possibly as soon as this coming Monday. Simpson has spent the last 9 years in prison after his armed robbery conviction in 2008. Contrary to popular belief, his stint in prison had nothing whatsoever to do with the death of Nicole Brown, or so the court says. With me now, attorney and Democratic strategist Adam Sostrin. Adam, good to see you.
Liz, great to be here.
All right, Adam, weigh in on this. It could come as soon as Monday that O.J. Simpson is a free man. What do you think?
Right. I mean, you know, as close as October 1st, he could be getting out. Well, certainly he qualified for parole. He met the factors that were required from the state of Nevada. So to me, it was no surprise that he was paroled. And of course, him being in prison custody, as you stated earlier, has nothing at all to do, well, it's supposed to have nothing at all to do, of course, with the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson, Ron Goldman. But a lot of people feel that the judge in Nevada was punishing O.J. for the conduct of what he was acquitted for in California on the criminal case.
Right, and that's the part that I want to dive into here, because I mean, I can see that. It seemed like, I don't know the sentencing guidelines for this type of crime the same way you do, but it seems like, especially popular opinion, that does sway judges sometimes, and it seems like this judge might have been trying to exact justice when she thought there was a miscarriage of justice in the first trial.
Well, the interesting part of it, and a lot of people picked up on it, was the fact that at least there was a civil judgment, right, where O.J. was found guilty. He wasn't in the criminal case, but in the civil case he was. And then the award in that case, total including compensatory and punitive damages, was $33.5 million. So the court in Nevada sentences O.J. to 33. 33, you know, but of course he's eligible for parole after 9 years. So people believe that 33 number had something to do with getting justice for the families for what occurred, for what he was acquitted for in the 1990, you know, trial of the century.
Right, that number certainly is a coincidence there. Well, how do you tell? How do you prove that this judge wasn't sentencing O.J. Simpson for something that had already been tried, that she was only looking at the elements of this armed robbery, that she wasn't considering at all the fact that I think the majority of Americans think that he did kill Nicole?
Well, people certainly thought that with respect to the sentencing in this case, that he'd get a tenth of what he should have received had it been anybody else. So, of course, that's why people believe that it has something to do with the trial of the century. And going back to the trial of the century, I mean, this is such a big story, Liz, because it sort of changed the way the world and the way America views America. We've never had a trial like this before. It was 11 months, and if you can believe it, I think there was about 126 witnesses. Something that's never been heard of really before. And a lot of it, also a big fact that has made it so important, is race relations in Los Angeles. Race relations, the African American community, the LAPD, and you know, the O.J. case happened you know, right after the acquittal of those officers you know, right before, the year before. No one understood. Even the President of the United States came down, Herbert Walker Bush, and says, I don't understand this verdict. I don't understand this acquittal. So things had gotten so bad in LA that a lot of people feel that despite what they believe O.J. did, you know, although he was acquitted, despite what he did, they didn't want him to be found guilty. They wanted him to be found not guilty because this would be a win.
Right, they wanted him to be not guilty, but that shouldn't factor into whether or not he was found guilty. Let me ask you, I mean, you're an attorney. You've clearly done research on this case. When you look at this case, when you look at the witnesses, when you look at the final ruling of this, do you feel that justice was exacted, or do you feel that this was a miscarriage of justice?
Well, it's interesting that the jurors only deliberated for several hours in the criminal case. In the civil case, they deliberated for several days. There were mistakes that the prosecution made, and often what happens in jury trials is jurors sort of get caught up following things that they shouldn't be paying attention to. You know, one of them being that Mark Furman was a well-known racist, and it was a mistake for the prosecutor to put Mr. Furman up on the stand to testify. You know, you had mainly an African-American jury panel, and then you have a racist detective who's testifying. And the defense was able to raise some doubt with respect to, there was a glove that was found at the Simpson home. It had a certain preservative in it. That is something that's only really used at crime labs, or that's at least what people were led to believe, the jurors were led to believe during the cross-examination and direct examination of their witness.
So basically you're saying it could have been mistakes on the part of the prosecution versus a miscarriage of justice. It's interesting. It's one of those things, it's kind of interesting that we're never really going to have the answer, I don't think, to this case. Last question, Adam, before we go. When OJ is released, possibly on Monday, like I mentioned, should
Right.
President Trump tweet about it?
Well, President Trump tweets about everything else, so I think I would be surprised if we don't hear from him.
Well, there you go. We'll have to wait and see. Adam, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.